Good morning. I'm Steve Weber, and welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show here on Spirituality Gone Wild. We are broadcasting, that is, Spirituality Gone Wild is my broadcast partner, and you can watch the show there on either their Facebook or YouTube channel, or you can tune in to the American Gumption Facebook page or the American Gumption YouTube channel, where we broadcast live, typically Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific. Alrighty, so welcome to today's show, Thursday. Exciting show today. Having Heather Holmes, who is the founder of P2 Probiotic Power. And this is a cleaning product that is going to give you a whole different thought about what clean means. So we'll get into that in just about 15 or 20 minutes from now when she joins us. Alrighty, so that's what's coming up specifically today. We have, of course, a monologue. As always, we do have a movie life scene or a life lesson from the movie, Forrest Gump, and that will be scene number 24, I Know What Love Is. And so that's coming up just briefly. Now, also, tomorrow, a couple of announcements here. Tomorrow, I am going to do an abbreviated show. It'll be a monologue only. There won't be a guest. I've had a guest 9 straight days, feeling pretty good about that. A guest every day last week and a guest every day this week, Monday through Thursday, and they've all been great guests, and it's been a lot of fun for me. So tomorrow I'm going to do an abbreviated show, and then Monday I'm not going to do a live show. So I'm going to I've got some projects I've been working on, some of the membership site and some other projects. So I'll share some of that tomorrow with you, what I'm doing. But basically I'll give myself an extra day. Well, actually an extra day and a half, because tomorrow's a short show. And then Monday we won't do a live broadcast, but we'll be back Tuesday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday. So 4 shows next week with guests, hopefully mostly all those days. So, alrighty, that's those are the announcements. Now, hey, what is today? It's Thursday, so that must mean it's Alrighty, Throwback Thursday, and this is a picture from the Gump days. This was, I'm going to guess, around 2000 time frame, and this is the Beta Breakers run in San Francisco from the bay over to the ocean, to where the breakers actually meet. And so I had Mama and Jenny join me that year, and we essentially walked the race. There's usually about 60 or 70 or 80,000 people in San Francisco for the Beta Breakers run. People dress up in all kinds of costumes. We stopped off and visited the stage or the costume place, and I believe we ended up taking first place in the crazy costume or in the look-alike costume. I don't remember exactly what it was, but anyway, this is a mother and daughter. I do not remember their names, but somehow through my blogging days, I ended up meeting, or through the Gump connection, I ended up meeting the mama, and she said my daughter's a huge fan, and so the daughter dressed up as Jenny and Mama Gump there. So that was a heck of a lot of fun. Now, one more Gump picture from the olden days, from the archives. This is in New Orleans during the grand opening, and they had a Forrest Gump lookalike contest. So these three gentlemen joined myself, and they all came out, and they wanted to. I don't know which one won, but we had a lot of fun with that. If I'm looking at the picture, the guy on the left, he had the suit down real good, and he had kind of the goofy look. The guy right next to me, with the darker blue shirt, he's kind of got that blank Gump look. He's got that going real well for him. And the other guy, hey, he showed up. He wore the wrong color suit jacket, but he was there in spirit. He had the chocolate box. So, every one of them made a good effort at being the Gump lookalike. So that was a lot of fun. All righty, that's our Throwback Thursday session. All right, and for anybody who doesn't know, we always have our opening theme as Steve when he was a boy with family pictures, and then the closing theme is the Gump Day. So we'll share pictures from both of those times on Throwback Thursdays. All right, moving along. So today I'm going to do another movie life lesson, and today I picked out scene number 24, and it's called "I Know What Love Is." Let's see if we can go ahead and bring that up. And here we go. Let's see what Forrest has to say today. I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is. Hi, I'm Steve Weber, and like Forrest, I may not be a smart man. I've been using that line for 25 years since the movie came out. Here is scene 24. I've created this video series to celebrate this year being the 25th anniversary of this great American movie.
Will you marry me? I'd make a good husband, Jenny.
You would, Forrest.
But you won't marry me.
You don't want to marry me.
When Forrest realized that Jenny wouldn't marry him, he said, I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
You can't keep doing this all the time.
I can't help it. I love you.
Forrest, you don't know what love is.
Back when Forrest was saying goodbye to Jenny on the bridge in Memphis when he was leaving for Vietnam, Jenny scolded Forrest, telling him, you don't know what love is. But Forrest did know what love is. It was Jenny who couldn't or wouldn't allow herself to love. She was still fighting the demons from her childhood. She told Forrest, you don't want to marry me. She didn't consider herself worthy of marriage. Jenny still didn't like herself. You can't love someone else until you learn to love yourself. Forrest may not have been a smart man, but he knew what love is. He knew how to love. Do you want to be more Gump-like? Learn to love yourself. Know what love is. Then you can love others. Let's learn to live our lives with gumption. All righty, there is scene number 24. I know what love is. That's kind of a neat scene for a couple of different reasons. And one of the things that I did a little differently there than any of the other scenes is I actually had two scenes combined together. So the first scene, the first scene in the timeline of the movie actually appeared in the middle of that scene, or in the middle of the life lesson. And Forrest is saying goodbye to Jenny, and he says that he loves her, and she says, you don't know what love is. And then, of course, we go to a scene later in the movie. Several years later, Jenny is back living and staying with Forrest in Greenbow, and they're enjoying each other. She gives him the shoes for his birthday, and he's having a good time, and they're hanging out and taking walks, and Forrest thinks it's great. And after they turn off the TV, she goes upstairs, goes up to her room, and he proposes marriage, and she says, "You don't want to marry me." And then, of course, he says, "I'm not a smart man. I know what love is." So yeah, it's kind of a heartbreaking scene, of course, because Forrest is rejected. That never feels very good. But Jenny is, still suffering from the demon. She doesn't know how to give the love yet. She hasn't made peace with herself. So she wouldn't have been a healthy partner for Forrest at that point. She instinctively knew that. And so she says she can't marry him. But of course, Forrest then, in his disappointment and probably anger, he says, "I'm not a smart man. I know what love is," rebuking what she had said to him all, those years earlier when she said, "You don't know what love is." So anyway, Forrest had learned how to love by then and was ready to share his love, but Jenny wasn't ready to share it with him. So that's our life lesson from the movie today. And that brings me to the monologue, and I'm calling it Loving Yourself. And when we first hear that term, loving yourself, you can kind of think of an egotistic or a conceit person. We all know people. We say, "Oh, they're in love with themselves. They think they're the greatest person in the world." And of course, that's the ego running things. And when I'm talking about loving yourself is really more of a forgiving yourself, accepting yourself, believing in yourself, but mostly forgiving yourself. And when I started my role as Forrest Gump sitting on the bench, I was 37 years of age at that point in time. And I remember thinking many times in those first couple of years, thank goodness that I was 37 years old and had lived a bit before this happened, because it was quite egotistic to sit on the bench and have 1,000 people adoring you all day long. And it was a lot of fun, and it was great for the ego. It was certainly healthy for my ego. And but I remember thinking that if I had done that in an earlier part of my life, if I had been in my 20s when that happened, I thought I probably would have blown that somehow. It wouldn't have worked out where I was able to realize that the character is what people love. People love the movie. People love the Forrest Gump character, and they love the fact that here was this guy who was me sitting there looking like Forrest Gump, sitting on the bench, having a good time, interacting with the people. And it wasn't Steve Weber that they were in love with. They loved the character. They wanted to come see it. So when I said that it was good that it happened when I was 37 years old, it was kind of at that point in life where I was like, I kind of settled down a little bit to the point where I wasn't as egotistic as I was in my teenage years and in my 20s. And, I was able to handle it better. I would have been fired if I had had that job, 10 years earlier. If I had been in my late 20s at the time, I just can't believe I could have handled it. So anyway, that's, and really what that comes down to is like learning to love yourself, accept yourself, know where you fit into the world and know what you're good at and know what you want to do. Now, one more piece of this, the Montana chapter, so at the end of the Forrest Gump days, I move myself up to Montana and, develop a speaking business, realizing I don't really have a message, having to decide what it is that I believe, go back and look at all of the beliefs that I've held for the first 50 years of my life and go, well, what things do I want to keep and what things do I want to get rid of? And so that was ultimately, that was where I really learned to forgive myself and to accept myself. And because I had a lot of beliefs, I had a lot of things that I had done, that a lot of patterns in my life that repeated over and over and over again. And that was not necessarily I was not living to my full potential, and it was not the type of thing that, I hadn't learned to just forgive myself and accept myself and say, okay, hey, you live your life, you do things, and, things happen, and that's okay. These are all part of the experiences of it. So as I became more conscious and heart-based, and as the Montana chapter came to an end, and as the American Gumption chapter began, I realized that I needed to surround myself with more heart-based people and people who were doing what they were intended to do in this time and space and in this lifetime. So when I ended up meeting our guest who's coming up briefly, I see she's arrived in the green room. When I met Heather, I was attracted to her because she was somebody who was living a heart-based life. She was somebody who talked about it's really heart is what matters, and connecting with people. And then she starts a business based off of her own experiences, and we're going to get into that, and she's going to tell that. But I had to shift from being someone who was a thinker and a analytical person to somebody who was a feeler and a heart-based, instinctive person. So that's what that was all, the Montana chapter really was in my life. So anyway, it's forgiving yourself, it's accepting it and coming to grips with it all. So that's our monologue for today, forgiving yourself. I would like to welcome Heather into the American Gumption Studios. It looks like she's ready to go. Let's see if she's here and ready to join us. Good morning,
Hi.
Heather.
Hi. It's
How
good
are
to
you?
see you, Steve. Good. It's beautiful out. It's wonderful. And I love what you said about the heart.
Yeah,
Because
it's really an important piece of it. It's
yeah.
we get to a certain point in life where all the things no longer are when in our younger years, the status and things that we surround ourselves with, and we make this seem so important, sort of become less important. So anyway, that's a little bit of how we met. But what we've been talking the last couple of weeks, and I want to do an introduction for you. I've written a little bit here about who you are, and then what we always do when we welcome people to the American Gumption show for the first time is we have a theme song that we play for them. It's called the welcoming. So if you'll allow me to just go ahead and read a little
Sure.
and then play that theme song, and then we'll let you have the stage, and we're going to talk about P2 probiotic power at that point. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All righty. So Heather Holmes is a missionary for health and wellness. Her business, P2 Probiotics, has a love for people, for pets, and for our planet. They are pioneers in spore or soil-based probiotic technology. They have developed a robust line of probiotic cleaning, body, and pet care products that all work in tandem to create your home biodome. So biodome is an important thing we're going to mention, isn't it? So the P2 line of cleaning products is revolutionizing what it means to clean something. She is creating health and wellness through this cleaning. If you've ever had bronchitis or a sinus infection, you know how miserable they are. Well, Heather had a combination of both of those for 20 years. That's a lot of suffering that you went through. She was on an endless cycle of antibiotics. Eventually, the antibiotics stopped working because her body developed a resistance to them. Now, jump back to another part of her life, and it was early in Heather's career. She was working with medical devices in hospitals. And for 7 of those years, she worked with infection control practitioners and microbiologists concerning sterilization methods whose sole goal was to kill bacteria. A fancy way of saying the hospital, you got to keep it clean. And all these people are doing is they're just trying to kill every bacteria they can ever find. And
wipe everything out.
And so the good and the bad bacteria were both killed equally. There was no discriminating between the two of them. So Heather put two and two together and realized that bacteria shouldn't or couldn't be eradicated. Bacteria needs to be controlled or balanced. An abundance of good bacteria, we'll call those probiotics, will overwhelm bad bacteria or the pathogens and create a healthy environment. So as this journey continues, she becomes an expert in probably things she would have never imagined becoming an expert in, spore-based probiotics versus cultured bacteria, bad bacteria such as toxins, germs, mold, fungi, and viruses, cleaning options such as bleach, disinfectants, vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, and essential oils. And most importantly, she came to understand what the biofilm was all about. So Heather Holmes, welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. I'm going to play that
quite
theme.
the introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to play that theme for welcoming for you. Have you ever been greeted into a show with a marching band, Heather?
Can't say that I ever have, Steve.
All right.
But it was really nice.
All right. Well, good. Well, welcome. So let's share the backstory. You know, you're just minding your own business, working in medical devices, and you're going about seeing this cleaning and the way they do things. And you're, probably like all of us in a job, learning all these different things, not necessarily, committed to any of them. But at the same time, you have these sinus problems and you have respiratory problems, and, you're taking antibiotics, and it's basically wiping out all of the bacteria, the good bacteria in your system. And so for 20 years, you're suffering, and somehow, boop, like an aha moment occurs and you connect the dots. What happened?
Well, first of all, I got into Chinese medicine when I was 15 and acupuncture. And so I've always, free range chicken, I've always kind of been in that mindset, even though I worked in conventional medicine. And so I actually got bronchitis when I was 7 or 8. So I had bronchitis forever and ever. And here's the thing is, you're eventually going to get sinus issues if you've had bronchitis that long, because the inflammation is in your body. So you are going to experience that. So I'm not surprised I got sinus infections. And with sinus infections, you get triggers. So the temperature changes, the seasons change, you don't get enough sleep, you drink too much, all these things will bring this on. So your immune system remembers these things. So I call it the hamster wheel. It's just the hamster wheel because you're on it and then you can't get off of it. And so when you are working in hospitals, you're picking everything up. I was traveling a lot, and I knew when they were going to come. And so they would last a couple of weeks. And so I would get a Z-Pack, and I would take it, and it would make me feel better. And then I would get another Z-Pack, a couple months later. And this cycle just continued for 20 years. But in the process, I kept taking stronger and stronger Z-Packs, and they weren't working. And because I was in that natural mindset, I really hadn't ever used a chemical in my house or anything else. So I was just looking for something natural. And when you are on antibiotics for a long time and you have no good bacteria in your gut, what ends up happening is your body is susceptible to everything. And this isn't just sinus infections. Anybody with an autoimmune disease is susceptible to certain things. And so I was getting urinary tract infections and yeast infections, which we know are not pleasant at all. And so I needed to find an answer for that. And so I was taking acidophilus probiotics, and I was trying to clean with things that would help me. And even the natural products out there, they weren't getting the job done. First of all, they weren't really cleaning very well. And I just wanted to find a solution. So for a couple of years, I was researching probiotics. And what I ended up finding is that there were two types of probiotics primarily available. And one is the cultures, like acidophilus, that you find in yogurts, kombucha, kefir, things like that. And then there are the other type of probiotics, which are the spore soil-based probiotics. And for our purposes of discussion today, those probiotics are very different from the cultures, because one is a culture, one is a spore, and I'm not going to get into that today. But let's just say that they're not created equally, and they are good for certain things in their applications. And so with the sinus infections and things like that, and the study of probiotics, I found out one very, very important thing. And that was the source of my sinus infections. So when we're taking these Z packs and we think that we're doing great things, they're only for bacterial infections. But ultimately what happens is we end up with fungus. So that's why the Z packs aren't working anymore. So to answer your question, my aha moment came when I was like, oh my gosh, I know the source of my sinus infections now. It's this biofilm stuff. And what the heck is that? Like, nobody knows what that is, right? Maybe if you're a functional medicine physician, you know that for the gut, but we're not thinking about it for what's around. So.
Yeah, so this is back in around 2008-9 time frame, something like that.
Yeah, early.
And so you're doing this research, and you're having this aha moment, and so somehow you end up meeting up with enough people who know, like some chemist or some biologist or
PhDs, microbiologists. Yeah,
so you're hanging out with these smart people who know these kinds of things, and suddenly you realize that this spore-based probiotic could be used to create an environment, which you called the biodome, around you, and then I guess you say, okay, I'm going to start a business, and we're going to sell these products. I mean,
there's a lot more science and research that went into it, because we had to find out if the formulations worked, right? And we had to tweak the formulations. So we were working with livestock. And if you know anything about livestock, it's the dirtiest, most horrible environment, worse than a hospital. So it's a great place to go. So before they were using our products, they were in hazmat suits, spraying the barns and everything else, and they couldn't have the animals there. And so then they started cleaning with our stuff, and no hazmat suits, no gloves, just spray it on, wipe it off. And then in testing that surface, we found that we really did a great job of not only eliminating the pathogens without killing them, but also getting control of that microbiological environment. Okay. So that's an important thing, because everything starts with bacteria and everything ends with bacteria. So I'm so sorry about that. I should turn this down. Hold on one second. So everything begins and ends with bacteria. So as an example, COVID, the secondary infection is bacterial pneumonia. So it's not a virus anymore. So it's we have to be thinking about this, right? So were you going to say something?
Well, I was just, that image of a barn with cows or whatever are all in there, and you have to remove all of the livestock, and you go in with a hazmat suit, and you're spraying these chemicals down there. So now, the person is in the hazmat suit because this is obviously misting all over the place, and it's not good for them. Of course, all the livestock has to be removed because it's not good for them. And you just imagine, okay, this stuff is settling down on here, and yes, maybe it's like, cleaning what is supposed to be, cleaning, but it's also like, you're throwing poison on top of it. And now you're going to bring the animals back in there, and they're, supposed to live as if nothing happened in that environment. And then you've developed this product, or the people you are working with developed this product that, it's not hazardous, it's a natural product, and they're spraying it around, and the results are that it's actually a cleaner environment.
Yeah, so not just cleaning, but spraying the animals and putting it on the teats of the animals and putting it in the drinking lines. So the reason I'm mentioning all of these things is because we have to think of our environment as a whole. So what are the points of entry of germs and viruses and things that can actually get to us and cause harm? Now, I want to be very clear, though, that bacteria, mold, fungus, viruses in their environment and in us do wonderful things. And so we really aren't saying that all those things are bad. They're only bad when they get in this biofilm that we haven't talked about yet. So this is an important distinction. So we had to see how the various formulations worked in things. So the milk got healthier for the cows, and the farmers got paid more. The turkeys are hard to grow because they have sensitive respiratory systems, were plagued with cholera and listeria, and we got rid of that by heating up the barns, getting them panting. So there were all these different things that we did. So based upon those formulations and years of looking at how these things work and benefit, and again, we were working with good bacteria, so we weren't harming the animals. It wasn't testing on the animals, so I want to be clear there. This was a joint effort with the farmers and the vets because we knew the benefits of probiotics. We just weren't sure exactly what worked best where. And that's what we determined, and that's how my products have been designed. So
how long was this like period where you were really in kind of a testing phase before you ended up getting a product and the products that you have now? This sounds like a couple of years.
Yeah, it did. So I had a test brand for about 3 years. So we had testing in livestock, then a test brand. So from 2009 to 2014, all of this was going on. So that allowed me the time to figure out what products would work best for people, for themselves and the pets, making the environment better, right? And not harming it. And so it was the end of 2014, beginning of 2015 when I launched the P Squared brand. And P2, people call it P2, P Squared. I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, this is this wasn't like you just said, "Oh, I have a good idea. I'll go launch a product," and you
throw something in a bottle in my garage.
In a bottle, and you did it. I mean, this became a labor of love and like a mission and a purpose in life that you're doing, to pursue all this. And you were, I'm guessing you didn't have necessarily a science background. You weren't a chemist to begin with.
No, but I think, spending 20 years in medical devices, you have to be somewhat scientific to do that, and especially 7 years in sterilization. So I'm around infection control practitioners, epidemiologists. You can't help but absorb some of that when you're doing that. And I never, I did heart and vascular and sterilization, and I literally was all over the, different departments. So you do pick some stuff up. I'm certainly not, degreed in anything of that nature. So international business, yes. Business, yes.
It's interesting that it started with, your own personal physical need to kind of solve this problem, and then somehow you stumble into this probiotic thing. And we all know probiotics. Maybe this is a good time to just talk about, like, everybody has a perception of probiotics and they think the gut. And so then there's an internal, and I only learned this, in the last couple of weeks since we've been talking, the internal probiotics that you take is for the digestive tract. And so whenever people end up taking antibiotics, one of the side effects is that they end up with, digestive issues as a result of it, because their system gets out of whack. Good bacteria gets, killed off. So probiotics is meant to replenish your gut, the good, healthy probiotics, or the healthy bacteria. So compare or contrast the fact that everybody knows the internal probiotic, or at least, they have some kind of an understanding, but I don't think anybody has this idea of what an external probiotic is.
No, I don't think so either, and we definitely should, because you can do everything in the world to try to heal your gut, but if you don't have a balanced microbiome in your environment, it's that much harder. And I'm going to throw out a little statistic here. Almost 100% of everybody has some sort of inflammation in their body. And that inflammation starts to cause issues. And so probiotics serve a very important role to replenish good bacteria, but we have to be thinking about what bacteria. And plant-based probiotics are very fragile. They're cultures, they are temperature sensitive, they require sugar to stay alive. And so they're like lactobacillus. It's used in some probiotic cleaning products, but quite frankly, it can't get to the microscopic level where the spore probiotics do. And it requires sugar to stay alive. So technically, you're putting sugar on your counter. So you've got to, again, it's a lot of education. So when we think about the spore probiotics, they are hardy in nature. So when we're dealing with pathogenic, like disease-causing bacteria, it's a spore. So we want to use a spore to control a spore. So it's apples to apples. So the spore probiotics can live between 32 degrees and 140 degrees. They have a long-term effect, so they can work for a long period of time. They also can really battle the things that are there and live in harsh conditions. So the spore probiotics are very different from what you're eating. And so that's an important distinction from the standpoint that it's important to use things that you need. So when we think about probiotics for the gut and what they're doing and replenishing, the same thing happens in the environment. So your gut is the same as the gut of the environment. So we have a living, breathing gut for the environment, and we have a living, breathing gut for our bodies. When we take an antibiotic and we wipe out everything, the good and the bad, we leave ourselves vulnerable to disease and infection. When we use a disinfectant or a sanitizer, even if it's a natural one like hydrogen peroxide or vinegar, and it can't distinguish between the good and the bad, you made that point before, and we're wiping out all the good stuff, we leave ourselves vulnerable. So we have to be thinking about the fact that we have two guts. We have an internal one and we have an external one. And no one thinks that way, but we should be thinking that way.
When you think about, we think about us as humans, the idea of where these unique bodies and these, like individuals, we're kind of taught, and we have been taught that we are separate and that we are our body. And if you get more into the conscious or the spiritual sense of who we are, we're really, this person or we're this entity, this spirit that attaches to a body in time and space. And there's a connectedness between everything. So really what you're talking about is the connectedness of everything out there. And it's not enough to just think of how do we take care of our body. We have to put ourselves in an environment that is healthy. Just
Yes.
if from a mind point of view, if you surround yourself with negativism and cable TV, then you're going to, you're taking in kind of this poison into your system all the time. And so you're talking about the countertops, you're talking about your pets, you're talking about the
teeth,
and in
hair.
fact, I have a couple of I have just a couple of slides that I'd like to just show that I think will help. That'll help us talk about. Let's see. So the first one is so here's the tooth. I mean, that's really what the biofilm is. The
plaque on your teeth is biofilm. Yep.
Yeah. So plaque is probably the easiest way to think about a biofilm. It just sort of kind of grows in there, and it doesn't just brush right off with your toothbrush normally. And the products that you've created, you have like a toothpaste and
no. We have a mouthwash.
A mouthwash.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So the mouthwash, though, I'm assuming it's going to use this spore-based technology to go ahead and start to chew and eat away at that plaque. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Biofilm is biofilm, whether it's on a counter, on your skin, or in your mouth. Now, your mouth is the gateway to your brain and your gut health. Okay. And we have to be thinking about that, because when we don't take care of this, we get issues here like leaky gut, and all of the things. And leaky gut actually leads to many other things, including dementia and Alzheimer's. So it's all connected. And you made the point of it's a yin and yang. So everything has a cause, effect, everything has balance. So when we look at our mouth, there's no exception there that we need to create that balance. It is just a web of bacteria and things, and very difficult to control. So over the years that people have been using this, we've had reports of teeth remineralizing. We've had people going to the dentist that build plaque. They go to the dentist every month or 2 months. The dentists are blown away. They don't like us very much because we really do take plaque out the teeth and help gingivitis and all of that stuff. So
I'm gonna let me just kind of run through a couple slides here. And there's not too many of them, but I do want to just share because I think they're worth just creating a little better image for us. And this one here shows the idea that there was molds and spores and different natural products from thousands of years ago that healers, whether they were Greeks or Russians or Sumerians, and they used these different natural products to treat different types of illnesses that went on. And this is long before Western medicine started.
You know what the crazy thing is, though? We've been cleaning the exact same way since 1500 BC. And it's the definition of insanity, because we keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, which is to try to kill as much bacteria as possible. And it just makes them angry. So our ancestors really, they understood that we needed to use nature to help our bodies, right? So we need to use nature to create that balance. And the probiotics are a great way to do that.
Right. Not all bacteria is bad.
No.
In fact, And what is the percentage of healthy bacteria to pathogen by, what's a good ratio that people think about?
So the correct ratio is 10 good ones to one bad one. I'll repeat that. 10 good ones to one bad one. So when we clean or we take an antibiotic or we use a disinfectant, wipes out everything, what's going to come back faster?
Yeah.
One little guy.
There's those antibiotics that are basically killing off, all 10 of the good ones and the one bad one at the same time. So, yeah, it's kind of a crazy thing. And instinctively, I certainly get it. The idea that, okay, we need life in the balance. We need to have, here we are, this pretty exotic machine with all these cells, and bacteria is just part of the whole environment. And so, keeping it running and tuned up is great. And so what you're saying is that, okay, there's people who have already taken care of the internal probiotics, the culture-based ones. Think of yogurt as kind of the natural starting point for as a cultural bacteria. Now you're saying, like, let's get our mouth clean. Let's get our pets clean. Let's get our counters and our, in our bathrooms and in our kitchens clean. And now we have a protection from where these, these bad places come. We agreed before we had this conversation that we didn't want to go too far into the weeds in this first one, and that we would come back and go deeper again. So, but we do need to at least start to talk about the biofilm, at least from a big picture point of view, and paint a picture of what that looks like, because you take your cleaning products and you rub over, a countertop, but what is really happening on a microscopic level?
Well, there's a lot going on, and I'm not going to get too technical today, but suffice it to say that every cleaning product has detergents in it. And the only thing that detergents do is loosen surface dirt and grime. So, your natural eco products, that's all they're doing is just loosening that dirt and grime. If we go deeper, and those of us that are a little older, we remember the scrubbing bubbles, but in current day, OxyClean, which has enzymes and things like that. Enzymes break things down, so it's further breaking things down. So if you picture a surface, you have your surface layer, then the enzymes go a little deeper, and then way down here is the microscopic level. So in one of the YouTube videos, I use an example. I take a Beanie Baby and I wrap it in plastic and I throw water on it, like you would a detergent, and I moved it around. Nothing happens, right? And then I took a pen and I poked the plastic wrap, and that's what enzymes do. So if you picture the plastic wrap as being biofilm or the plaque on your teeth, what is happening is you need the detergent to loosen things. The enzymes help you go deeper to break up that dirt and bioburden. And then the probiotics need to be there to address the biofilm. So I describe biofilm as 8,000 sheets of plastic wrap. You could stand out in the rain and nothing would penetrate, right? So when you're using a bleach or a disinfectant or cleaner, whatever you are using there, you're not getting rid of that biofilm, and you're not preventing it from returning, because it's one thing to get rid of it. Let's say the enzymes just got rid of all of it and eureka, I feel better. I think I feel healthier. It's going to come back again because it continually regenerates. So like in your bathroom, it's regenerating constantly because it's a moist environment. And so we even think about our toothbrush and the stuff flying around from flushing the toilet and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to gross everybody out today. There is a solution that we can take care of that. But you really have to think about the fact that at the microscopic level, and these bacteria are talking to each other and working, And our guys come in and crowd those guys out and eat away their biofilm shelter. So biofilm is a food source and shelter for bad bacteria, mold, fungus, and viruses. And I said before, when those things are not in biofilm, they help us. When they get into biofilm, and biofilm is formed when we wipe out all of the good bacteria, and the bad bacteria consume all the dead bodies of the good guys for food, and it makes them superhuman. So they excrete this sugar that forms this sticky, gluey hotel for these things that we don't want. And there's signals going out to all of these things saying, come on in. This is a great place. You have food, you have shelter, and you can grow as big as you want. So when they are in this biofilm, let's say, for instance, one bacteria excretes the sugars, makes the biofilm, calls all the buddies, they come in. E. coli is hanging out in there. E. coli in the biofilm replicates every 15 to 24 minutes, 100 zillion billion times. I'll repeat that. E. coli, and so does salmonella and staph and MRSA. It multiplies every 15 to 24 minutes, 100 zillion billion times. So in 24 hours, you can imagine, I could stack E. coli to the sun and back exponentially to the 20th or 30th, 100 zillion billion times. That's a lot of bacteria. So you remember the Chipotle outbreak and when they had the E. coli issue and they couldn't control it. And that's why, because biofilm isn't stationary. It'll break off. It's like the little pig in the Geico commercial. Whee! And they're literally breaking off and having a great old time. So
when you think about your kitchen counter, we take like we take a cloth, we have some soap on it, we wipe the cloth, we wipe it clean, you don't see any dirt or surface, but really what you're talking about cleaning is at that microscopic level. So all of that is left behind. We don't see any of that. You can
can't
take
see
like
it. No.
You can take like a wet wipe and clean off the counter and it looks perfectly clean. It leaves some kind of a, smell that makes you think it's clean and yet it's not. So the products that you've developed, you go and you take it, they're going to do the same type of cleaning from a visual surface level, but what they're doing is now they're working on this microscopic level and they're introducing these healthy bacteria, probiotics, and they're going and they're consuming this little microscopic food, which is, I don't know what it all is, but you do, you said it. And so what happens is the bad bacteria, the pathogens, ultimately cannot live in that environment. So from what I've come to understand about your product, you wipe this clean and okay, it's now the surface is clean, but there's like a residual effect where the microscopic level cleaning continues because these spores or these little bacteria are basically chewing and gobbling up what you are calling the the biofilm and eliminating that. And then of course the bad bacteria, the fungs and germs and molds and all that stuff, they don't have any food source. They can't live.
Right. So, right, we can't live if we're starving and we die, right? Which is exactly what we do. So I want to be clear, we do not kill anything. We don't kill anything. We go to the source, the housing for these things, take away their food, take away their shelter, and they starve and die. Okay? And this all happens very rapidly. I mean, it's not like, oh gosh, I took one piece of the biofilm. No, this is happening like our guys are going in there like an army and overpowering these guys. So the residual effect comes because the interesting part is that the probiotics gobble this up and they're bioengineering the surface. So they're literally like little mechanics going in there and they're excreting stuff that they're feeding off of. So it's just this cycle that they keep going through until they've gotten everything truly clean and put back the way it should be in nature, balanced. 10 good guys to one bad guy. So again, important distinction. They're just getting rid of the biofilm, and the bacteria and the mold and the fungus and viruses that are supposed to be there will continue to be there and functioning as they should to help us. So when you apply our cleaning product, it keeps cleaning for, we know, at least 5 days. So you've got live bacteria that you're using, which is an important distinction as well, because so many of the products out there are using dead bacteria, basically. I mean, I have no other way to say it, and I'm not going to name products, but again, they're just putting stuff in a bottle and confusing the marketplace. So, it's one of those things where if I said to you, do you want to use something that's actually good for you when you clean, and good for your skin and good for your breathing and everything else, that actually truly cleans? Or would you rather, do you feel better using something that tries to kill everything and smells bad and is harming you? I mean, I think it's a pretty clear choice. But again, I want to say this. If you feel safer killing the bacteria, that's your choice. You don't have to with our products because they work better than bleach and disinfectants. But if you still feel you need to use that, at least just get the good bacteria back in. And we have a way for you to do that. But again, I'm not here to say this is going to happen overnight. We've been doing things the same way for a really long time. And you alluded to it. If it smells clean and looks clean, it must be clean, right?
Right.
And if I kill bacteria, I know I'm really safe. So it's not an easy thing to absorb, but if you are taking a probiotic, this should make very, very good sense to you. And if you are already using a natural cleaning product, this should make very, very good sense to you as well.
Yeah. And if you care about the environment, and if you care about your health, and if your physical and your mental health, I mean, this is all, this is all something that can be good. We're almost at the top of the hour, and we agreed that we would try to just sort of paint the big picture. So there's a few more slides. This one here shows that, it shows a countertop that's in the kitchen. It shows a living room where there's, comfy chairs, but there's pets that are sitting out there. Obviously your teeth, and then you have a child, and you're showing like a misting or a spray that is actually it's safe for people. And these products are like food grade manufactured. So there's a high level of quality control that's going on.
Yeah, in pharmaceutical grade facilities, food grade facilities. And that's important to check, especially with some of the ads that are on Facebook right now. There's one in particular saying that you can charge your water with some salt and it's better than all the disinfectants. I want to warn you, that is not the truth at all. So, it's a little scary, but I think the importance of this slide is basically showing that these are all the points of entry. So surfaces, air, teeth, and what is not shown here is skin. So there are diseases, and I want to leave this statistic with you. 80% of all disease and infection is because of biofilm. I'll repeat that. 80% of all disease and infection is because of biofilm. So it is definitely something we need to continue to talk about in the next interview, because it needs to be understood.
And from a skin point of view, you just think of a rash. A rash is the easiest way to say, okay, this is an imbalance of what's going on.
Eczema, psoriasis, all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to wrap up and just say that your product line has and what you call the biodome. It's really body care, pet care, allergy and asthma, sinus, and then home care. So the home care obviously being kind of countertops, body care being, your mouthwash. And I don't know, do you have shampoo or soap too also?
Well, people use our face, hand, and body wash as shampoo, actually, and then they have it at all the sinks. And that product is great because it rinses clean and it coats your skin, all day with the probiotics. And for women, it is really special because it won't disrupt your pH. It's pH neutral. All of our products are.
Great. And I remember one of the things you even have is a for laundry, and I've done where you do your laundry and you forget to take things out of the dryer or washer for like 24 hours or longer, and you take them out, throw them in the dryer, and you're like, oh, I got to rewash these because they don't smell so good now. Well, that's basically some kind of a mold or some kind of something growing in there. And usually when you just throw the detergent back on and you rerun the cycle, they don't come out smelling a whole lot better. But the products that you have actually been able to eliminate that pretty quickly.
Yeah, and the reason for that is that in that tub that you have with your front loader, even your front loader, your top loader, there's bacteria that gets in there and creates mold, mildew, fungus, because you have biofilm in there. So this washer additive actually helps clean out the washing machine at the same time that it's washing. And it's called an additive because you put it in your fabric softener dispenser, because it could be rather expensive to use it as a detergent, as many people do, but it'll get the residue of the detergent off. And it really does a fantastic job. And as you said, things that have mildewy smell, old towels, cigarettes, cigars, sporty type things, they're really stinky. It does a great job on those too. And the probiotics will stay in your clothes if you wash them on a lower temperature and you dry them on a low temperature. They'll stay in your clothes for several days, which is great too. So
good. So I'm showing your product line, and it shows clean every inch, your teeth, clean everything, your breath. So that's obviously the mouthwash, pets. You have a whole variety, and I didn't put up I apologize. I had the ticker below, which I finally remembered to put up, but there's the P2probioticpower.com. That's where all these are available. And we've had actually some guests making some comments. Let me just share.
Great.
Nancy has.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so she says you're shedding light on an important topic. Thank you. And Cindy says that she wished she had joined us earlier. So anyway, we wanted to kind of just lay the groundwork for this because this is important. I mean, this is like I had no clue this existed, and I'm like, why didn't we know about this in the era of COVID? Why aren't we talking about this? We're wearing a mask that we wear day after day. I mean, this is crazy. It's insanity. And anyway, now I'm going to stop my screen share. Heather's disappeared for a second. Hopefully she's going to rejoin us. And but we're at the top of the hour. We're going to wrap this up. I'm not sure. I sure hope she could join us again, but maybe that connection dropped out. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to bring Heather back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual microscopic level. And she's got some great slides that can share and talk a little bit more about this. I think this is, we're shifting in the way we want to do, the way we want to live our lives. We want to take more control over our lives. We want to be able to create better health without just taking, more antibiotics or medications or even supplements, or in a way, this is a supplement. So now Now,
Sorry, classic move where your computer dies, and so I'm on my cell phone now. So sorry.
well, good. Well, we were wrapping up anyway, and I was just saying that, the world is changing and we can't continue to do things the way we've done them. And you have introduced something really important that we agreed that if we could just sort of paint the big picture today, and then if you would be willing to come back and join the American Gumption Morning Show again, you have a lot of slides and details about on the, kind of in the nitty gritty, in the weeds in terms of how this works. But I've found it fascinating. And I just think it's important that we don't just keep using more and more of the things that are harmful to the environment and not helping us. And so, if there's a product that is safer for us physically and it works and is more efficient and does a better job, why is this not like, why are we not screaming this from the rooftop? So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know, but I'd like you to come back and we'll try to explain it. It's not as simple as just, like little scrubbing bubbles, but in some ways it is as simple as that. So anyway.
Well, thank you so much. I would love to come back, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today, Steve.
Good. Well, thank you, Heather. We'll figure out a time when we can get you back, and then we'll go a little deeper into this, and hopefully this will set the stage for that next topic, and we'll just sort of do a quick summary the next time, and then we'll talk really more what happens on that microscopic level, because once you understand it, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's pretty easy to go, oh, this is a better solution. This makes more sense than chemicals that are harmful for the environment, for us, and then don't do the job. So,
yes, thank you so much.
All righty. Well, thank you. We'll see you again. All right. Well, that's Heather Holmes. It was great that she was able to join us this morning. I sure appreciate her, taking the time to educate me last week, and then to come in and share this today. We thank everybody for their supporting comments who did comment, and we'll see you folks tomorrow. Now, tomorrow I'm going to do an abbreviated show. I'm just going to do a monologue, and so I'll get out early. I'm going to take Monday off and not do a live show, but I'll have live shows Tuesday through Friday next week, and hopefully with guests most of those days. So, alrighty, everybody, have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.